people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. You may have heard earlier today, MVP welcomes unbeaten IBF lightweight world champion Elif Nur Turhan. The golden Turkish warrior joins MVP with a perfect 14-0 record with 8 knockouts, becoming the first Turkish fighter to sign with MVP and the second to join following our strategic alliance with Matchroom Boxing. MVPW just got even more dangerous. Welcome to the family. Surprising that MVP is taking on more and more fighters, this time fighters migrating from Matchroom when they already have a full stable, a full plate, a lot of girls to promote, the most in the industry, and they're still taking on more. We addressed the rumor of Elif Nur Turhan being the next fighter to migrate over to MVP in a previous video, and how what that could herald is a fight with Alicia Baumgardner, who hinted she's got some fight news incoming. Not having any reason to stay at 130 pounds anymore, it's conceivable that in her next fight, she may move up to 135. She may fight Elif Nur Turhan. Following Elif Nur Turhan's last fight, Alicia made it known she would like to fight her. So this is something that could happen in the fall, could happen in the winter months.
Who wins?
My money is on the more experienced fighter in the fight. My money is on Alicia Baumgardner, who would be moving up from 130 up to 135. More the boxer of the two. Elif Nur Turhan would be the puncher, albeit the flawed puncher. Fundamentally, she does a lot of things wrong, though what makes her so dangerous is how much she commits to her power shots. You don't want to be standing there. You don't want to be on the receiving end of one. She does a lot of things wrong. Her footwork is poor, sloppy. She leans over her lead foot, lunging in, trying for big punches you could fit a couch in between.
Fat punches. Fat.
When she's letting go of more than one, they're more like flurries than combinations. I see a situation where Elif Nur Turhan sacrifices so much of her defense for offense. If a fighter is poised enough to stay in the pocket with her,
They can counter.
they can catch her in between. And between Elif Nur Turhan's forward momentum and a punch coming in, they could do a lot of damage in theory. Fighter to do it may be Alicia Baumgardner, who's got more fights, more rounds in the bank against a better quality of competition than Elif Nur Turhan. She is the more experienced fighter in the fight, more defensible.
Bam.
And I think if she plays her cards right, this is a fight that she can win.
Gardner.
She's become subject to a lot of criticism as of late for not Hurley fighting Caroline Dubois. That's the fight that a lot of people want to see her in. That's the fight a lot of people want to see her have. This might allay some of those criticisms because so long as Alicia moves up to the lightweight division and fights for a title there, makes the Dubois fight seem like more of an eventuality, that eventually it will happen. The time for waiting is over! There are 3 world champions in the lightweight division. Caroline Dubois is the unified champion at the weight, having 2 of the 4 titles. Stephanie Han has 1, and Elif Nur Turhan has the other. I expect, in the not-so-distant future, that is who Alicia is going to be fighting, and that is what this signing heralds. What about the strategic partnership? Well, as stated, and what I've been saying in video after video, if the quote-unquote strategic partnership is just Matchroom girls fighting on MVP shows, if it's one way, one-sided, I wouldn't call that a partnership. I wouldn't call that strategic. I would call that Matchroom pawning off their remaining female fighters on MVP.
That's what I'd call it.
Probably fighters that still have 1 or 2 fights left on their existing Matchroom deals, but Matchroom would rather let somebody else do those 1 or 2 fights.
Finish him out.
Elif Nur Turhan is the second fighter to migrate from Matchroom over to Zuffa. The first was Sky Nicholson. The second is Elif Nur Turhan. And If we keep seeing this, if the younger fighter that they signed not that long ago, Tia May Ayton, also migrates from Matchroom to MVP,
Sound like they're done promoting women. That's how I would interpret it.
the other fighters like Elif Nur Turhan, maybe they don't know what to do with her. Maybe they don't know how to sell her. With Sky, the best fights for Elif Nur Turhan are on the MVP side of things. With Sky Nicholson, Sky's already accomplished a great deal under Matchroom.
For her, maybe it's time she changed her decorum, but Tia May Ayton, who's young, fresh,
Tia,
who Matchroom themselves were billing as the heir apparent to the throne Katie Taylor, is set to leave behind next month. Tia's young, has not yet fought for a world title. If you truck her off to somebody else,
like I said, it must be because you don't want to promote women boxers anymore.
if you're just going to give away one of the most promising young females you have, I wouldn't consider it a good thing that so many of the somebodies in the women's game are all converging on one platform, because what that actually means is less visibility for the women, not more.
MVP doesn't do that many shows, not as many as Matchroom. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, DAZN low blows U.S. boxing fans with yet another price increase, and the Boo Birds,
Boos have already started raining down.
and who could blame them, DAZN has informed U.S. subscribers that another price increase is coming, with its flexible monthly rate rising to $34.99 after September 10th, as the streaming platform points to its expanding boxing roster and wider sports offering. A notice seen by World Boxing News confirms affected subscribers will see the new $34.99 price reflected in their following billing cycle. We've just added PBC to our roster alongside Golden Boy, Top Rank, and Matchroom, DAZN told subscribers, while also highlighting more than 8,500 matches annually through FIFA Plus. To continue delivering the best year-round schedule, we're updating our pricing, the notice adds.
The money's gotta come from somewhere. That's the feeling. The more promoters that migrate over to the DAZN platform, the more it's gonna cost the consumer.
The more variety they add to their catalog of sports, not just limited to boxing, well, it's the same deal. For customers currently paying $29.99, that means another $5 every month and another $60 over the full year. A monthly Flex subscriber paying $34.99 for 12 straight months would hand over $419. Customers willing to commit for 12 can instead pay $24.99 each month, totaling $299, while the cheapest standard option remains $249 upfront. That means retaining the freedom to cancel costs a U.S. customer almost $170 per year than paying the standard annual fee upfront.
So I renewed my annual subscription to DAZN this past May, and I'm paid through next May. So I'm not going to be feeling these price hikes. Though with so much of DAZN's content ending up behind a second paywall, as the subscription fee itself would be the first, people are starting to wonder, what are they actually getting for their money?
When World Boxing News began closely following DAZN's latest price changes in late 2025, its regular U.S. annual subscription could still be purchased for $224.99.
Has since gone up.
DAZN subsequently launched the Ultimate tier in November of last year at $44.99 per month, equivalent to $539 over 12 monthly payments, or $449 upfront. The pitch was that Ultimate would include at least 12 pay-per-view events annually. By June, DAZN had already delivered or announced 10 of those 12 events, although WBN questioned whether every fight genuinely deserved the pay-per-view label. The prices have since changed again. DAZN's current U.S. Ultimate plan costs $49.99 per month, roughly $50 on a 12-month agreement, totaling $599, while the upfront Ultimate price remains $449.
Sheesh.
The major annual U.S. figures now look like this. The monthly Flex is $419 per year. The standard annual contract paid monthly is $299 per year. Standard annual upfront, $249 per year. That's the cheapest one.
That's the one I've got.
Ultimate annual contract paid monthly, $599 per year. Ultimate annual upfront, $449.
For customers unwilling to commit, the new $34.99 rate effectively creates a flexibility tax. A fan who keeps Flex for an entire year pays $120 more than someone on the standard annual monthly contract and almost $170 more than someone paying up front. There is another side to the argument. DAZN's boxing offering is considerably stronger than it once was. In June, World Boxing News outlined how DAZN's growing promoter roster was making the platform increasingly difficult for serious boxing fans to avoid. That position is strengthened further, with DAZN specifically highlighting PBC when informing subscribers of its latest increase. There is, therefore, a legitimate argument that fans are receiving considerably more content for their money.
Are they? It's hidden behind a paywall. Most of what PBC was doing on Prime was pay-per-views. To now suggest that they're getting more content for their money relies on the presupposition that they were actually buying those PBC pay-per-views, where most boxing fans were not.
Thus, there is still a reason that the DAZN price increase stings. Whether the increased cost is matched by the quality of DAZN's boxing coverage remains another debate entirely. Pay-per-view was supposed to be going away.
That's not what happened.
They have effectively heard that promise twice. DAZN originally entered boxing with an identity built around challenging pay-per-view. The subscription model offered an alternative to repeatedly asking fans for huge, one-off fees to watch major fights.
Pay-per-view eventually returned. Then, in July of 2025, boxing fans heard effectively the same promise again when Turkey Al Sheikh announced, after meeting DAZN CEO Shay Segev, that Riyadh season and Ring Magazine events would no longer operate under the traditional pay-per-view model. Al Sheikh said pay-per-view had damaged boxing and stated that those events would be available to DAZN subscribers without additional charges.
He lied.
Because that's what these are, additional charges. One way or another, you have to kick out more money. Major events continue to be sold separately before DAZN introduced Ultimate, allowing customers to avoid individual pay-per-view fees by paying substantially more for another subscription tier. World Boxing News questioned that move immediately because fans had gone from hearing that pay-per-view was finished to being offered a package costing in between $449 to $539 annually to include premium events.
Premium events, pay-per-views, it all means the same thing. It costs you more money.
Ultimate has since increased to $49.99 per month on its U.S. annual monthly payment plan, and now the flexible standard sub is becoming more expensive as well. DAZN deserves credit for building an extraordinary position in boxing. Its promoter roster has become so deep that following top-level boxing without the platform is increasingly difficult. That success cuts both ways, as DAZN has arguably never given boxing fans more reasons to subscribe. After years of promising about leaving pay-per-view behind, it has also never found more ways to make them pay.
This isn't hard to understand. When so much of the content to the subscriber is hidden behind a second paywall, you have to pay additional fees to see it, whether you pay for the pay-per-views individually or you subscribe to the Ultimate tier. Thus, it all means the same thing. It's costing me and you more money.
American subscribers are already paying more, substantially more, than their British counterparts.
They're paying half of what we're paying.
And what are you actually paying for? Can you say that these pay-per-views they're putting on are actually pay-per-view worthy? Consider the Hrgovic versus Itelma fight.
Joshua versus Prenga.
And then consider a big fight that's happening off-platform in Garcia versus Ben, that Paramount Plus is not billing as a pay-per-view.
It's hard to call Itelma versus Hrgovic value for money.
That is not a hot ticket to American boxing fans, no matter how you slice it. Joshua versus Prenga, that was a tune-up fight.
We should pay extra to see this guy tune up.
Garcia versus Ben is just as big, if not bigger, than those fights, and it doesn't cost anything extra, thus making it harder for DAZN to justify the hefty price tag. And boxing being a niche sport in this market, how come we're paying more for it than everybody else?
We're literally paying more to see British fighters than British boxing fans.
In spite of how many promoters are now housed on this platform, the American content offering doesn't seem that strong. Take this weekend.
All they seem to have on the schedule is a Clarissa Shields fight for Saturday.
That's it. So I'm not looking at this and seeing value for money. And a lot of other people aren't either. A Twitter user who goes by the name Rotund Raconteur said, Saudi money is a convenient scapegoat. The problem isn't Turkey getting into boxing. The problem is HBO, Showtime, and ESPN leaving boxing. I'm not paying $80 each week to watch a pay-per-view that should be on basic cable.
A fight card is not thereby made pay-per-view worthy just because you slap a pay-per-view price tag on it. What are you actually getting for that money?
Veteran boxing scribe Stephen Kimothy added to the conversation by saying the problem began before those networks left. To me, their downfall began when the likes of HBO and Showtime put in pseudo-activists to be in charge of programming and upholding standards, and they had other agendas that had nothing to do with satisfying their subscribers.
Stud observation. So much of what you see happening within the boxing space right now, the inflation,
The paywall
is a direct byproduct of attempting to satisfy the fighters and their demands more than the fans and what they're demanding. Because the fans weren't demanding Moses Atelma fight Filip Hrgovic. That fight shouldn't cost anything extra to a British boxing fan, let alone an American one. It's not a hot ticket.
You can't grow the sport this way.
What about the fight Anthony Joshua just had with Christian Prenga? We should kick out extra money to see him tune up?
Near as I can tell, a lot of these would-be pay-per-views are not actually pay-per-view worthy. You're taking ordinary fights, slapping a pay-per-view price tag on them, then saying, well, if you subscribe to the ultimate tier, you save.
Save what?
Save money on pay-per-views I wasn't going to buy, like Tommy Fury versus Eddie Hall. The value in the tier relies on the presupposition that you were actually going to purchase all of these pay-per-views they're putting on, but what if you weren't?
Where's the value then?
And you can completely forget about getting the casual observer's eyes on this content because you're having a hard enough time getting the hardcores to subscribe to this. Even for them, it's pricey.
Well, what about the fight series on TNT? Isn't that helping the situation?
That's a drop in the bucket compared to how much content you don't have access to. It can help the situation, but with only 4 or 5 cards annually, it's only going to do but so much. And to the point that Stephen Kimothy made about pseudo-activism and ulterior motives leading to the current market inflation we're seeing.
It has everything to do with the fighters' overblown, out of control financial demands, because if not for that, so many of them wouldn't be behind a paywall.
B-tier fighters making 7-figure purses, blue-chip prospects who don't yet have a big audience, being paid already as if they do. That's what caused this.
And this is the leg up that Paramount Plus and Zuffa Boxing will have on DAZN and all of the promotions it hosts.
Paramount Plus isn't charging an arm and a leg to watch a bit of boxing, and it may not be all the big names and all the big brands, but give them time. As what DAZN is doing is tantamount to self-sabotage. Boxing is a niche sport that takes a back seat to the NFL, NHL, NBA, and MLB. Those are bigger sports, and you don't have to jump through all these hoops to see them.
Making boxing as an entertainment form more trouble than it's worth, more expensive than it should be, and this will not grow the market in the United States.
If that's what the goal is, there is a direct correlation between the uptick in pay-per-views and a declining audience for this content in this country. So long as this continues, the fighters on that platform will continue to have limited visibility. You can't justify what this costs.